You know, there's something I've noticed after years of observing people, after talking to thousands of men and women who struggle day after day without seeing results, after hearing the same stories of frustration over and over again. And it's this. It's not a lack of money that's keeping you poor. It's not the economy. It's not your bosses. It's not the government. It's not the government. It's not luck. It's something much deeper, something you carry with you every morning when you open your eyes, something you repeat without realizing it, like a silent mantra that chains you to scarcity. It's your habits, those small acts you do without thinking, those automatic decisions you make 1,000 times a day, those ways of seeing the world that you inherited without questioning. And today I want to talk to you about 7 of those habits, 7 invisible chains that bind you to poverty. And more importantly, I want to show you how to break them bare. Because financial freedom doesn't start with money, it starts with the decision to change who you are. The first habit that keeps you poor is thinking like an employee, even if you dream of being free. Listen to me carefully. Every morning you wake up thinking about how many hours you're going to work, not how much value you're going to create. You think about showing up on time, not going far. You think about delivering on what's asked of you, not exceeding what's possible. And I know this hurts to hear because you've probably spent years telling yourself that you work hard, that you put in the effort, that you give it your all. But let me ask you something. Are you working hard or are you slaving away? Because they're not the same thing. Working hard means building something that grows without you. Slaving away means that if you stop moving, everything stops moving. The employee trades time for money. The free trades ideas for abundance. The employee asks, how much are you going to pay me? The free asks, how much value can I add? And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that working for someone else is bad. What I'm saying is that if your mind keeps working like an employee, even if you have your own business, even if you're your own boss, you're still going to be poor. Because poverty is not an empty bank account. Poverty is a narrow mindset. It's believing that your worth is determined by the hours you work rather than the problems you solve. It's thinking that security comes from a fixed salary rather than from your ability to adapt, to grow, to reinvent yourself. Look around you. The rich don't think in hours. They think in systems. They don't think in salaries. They think in assets. They don't think in bosses. They think in opportunities. And you keep waiting for someone to give you permission to auspa, waiting for someone to recognize your effort, waiting for someone to give you a raise, but no one is going to come and save you. No one is going to knock on your door and say you deserve more. You have to save yourself. And that starts by changing the way you think about work, about time, about your own worth. Break this habit like this. Stop asking yourself, what can I do today to make money? And start asking yourself, what can I build today that will continue to create value tomorrow? Stop selling your time and start multiplying your impact. Because time is limited, but impact can be infinite. The second habit that keeps you poor is living to impress people who don't even admire you. And this is devastating. How many times have you bought something you didn't need with money you didn't have in order to impress someone who wasn't even looking? How many times have you chosen the most expensive restaurant, the flashiest car, the designer clothes, not because it made you happy, but because you wanted others to think you were successful? But let me tell you something that perhaps no one has told you with such clarity. People who truly have money don't need to show it off. Those who show off are the ones who are broken on the inside. Those who flaunt it are the ones who are empty on the outside. Because when your self-esteem depends on what others think of you, you become a slave to their opinions. And slaves are not free, and those who are not free cannot prosper. Think about it. You're working to pay off debts you incurred, to buy things you didn't want, to impress people you don't care about. It's crazy. It's a vicious cycle that keeps you trapped, running faster but not moving forward, sweating more but not getting there. And the worst part is that while you're trying to impress, everyone else is busy living their own lives, dreams, building their own futures, They're not thinking about you. They're not admiring you. They're not even looking at you. They're too busy trying to impress someone else. It's a chain of insecurity, a theater of vanities, where everyone is acting but no one is authentic. And in that theater, you're wasting your energy, your money, your peace of mind. Why? For a like on social media. For an approving comment, for an envious glance, but envy doesn't pay your bills. Superficial admiration doesn't build your wealth. Applause from strangers doesn't give you freedom. Break this habit now. Stop living for the gallery. Stop measuring your success by what others see, and start measuring it by what you feel, by what you need, not what looks good. Nae. Invest in experiences, not appearances. Build real wealth, not poverty disguised as luxury. Because true wealth is silent, it doesn't shout. It doesn't show off, it doesn't need validation. It just is. And when you stop worrying about what others think, you'll finally have the energy to focus on what really matters. Building a life that makes you happy, not them. The third habit that keeps you poor is waiting for the perfect moment instead of creating the moment. And I see this every day. People with brilliant ideas, incredible talent, unlimited potential, sitting around waiting for the perfect moment to start, waiting to have more money before investing, waiting for the conditions to be just right before taking action. But let me tell you something that life has taught me the hard way. There's no such thing as the perfect moment. You're never going to have it all figured out. There's never going to be the perfect time. You're never going to feel completely prepared. And if you wait for that, you're going to be waiting your whole life. Opportunity doesn't knock, introducing itself. Opportunity is that little window that opens for a second. And if you don't jump, it closes. And when it closes, it doesn't come back. Because while you're waiting for the perfect moment, someone else is creating that moment. Someone with fewer resources than you, with less experience than you, with less knowledge than you, is acting. They're failing, yes, but they're learning. They're making mistakes, yes, but they're moving forward. And in a year, that person is going to be where you wanted to be, not because they're better than you, but because they decided to start. I've seen people who have spent 10 years saying, next year, I'm going to start a business. 10 years saying, when I have more money, I'm going to invest. 10 years waiting for the stars to align. And do you know what's happened in those 10 years? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Because waiting without action is just an excuse disguised as prudence. It's fear disguised as wisdom, maguedem. It's paralysis disguised as planning. And fear is the most effective dream thief there is. It doesn't take it all at once. It gradually robs you. One day it steals your courage. Another day, it steals your confidence. Another day, it steals your urgency. And when you realize it, you've spent years without moving, years watching others build what you only imagined. The conditions are never going to be perfect. There's always going to be something that's not ready. There's always going to be a risk. There's always going to be a reason to wait. But those who prosper aren't those who wait. They're those who act despite fear. They're those who start despite not having everything figured out. They're those who learn by doing, not by thinking. Break this habit today, not tomorrow, today. Identify that idea you've been putting off, that project you've been planning, that investment you've been considering, and take the first step. Not the perfect step, the first step. Because perfection is the enemy of progress, and imperfect progress. Ulo kasi pizza tricks din, foul, passion. Start small if you want, but start. Because the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, but the second best time is now. The fourth habit that keeps you poor is surrounding yourself with people who normalize mediocrity. And this is probably the hardest one to admit, because we're talking about your inner circle, your friends, maybe your family, but I have to tell you this with all honesty. The people you spend the most time with determine the person you become. If you surround yourself with people who complain all day, you will end up complaining. If you surround yourself with people who have no ambition, you're going to lose yours. If you surround yourself with people who justify poverty, you're going to end up justifying it too. Because environment is stronger than willpower. You can have all the motivation in the world, but if you come home every day and you're surrounded by people who say, why try if it's not going to work? Why try if you're not going to achieve it? Why dream if it's impossible? Eventually, you're going to start believing it. Eventually, you're going to lower your standards to match theirs. Eventually, you're going to settle because it's easier than fighting the current alone. And that doesn't mean these people are bad. Many times they love you. Many times they mean well. But affection without vision is like a hug that suffocates you. It holds you, yes, but it prevents you from growing. It protects you, yes, but it keeps you small. And you were not created to be small. You were created to expand, to evolve, to reach heights that you can't even imagine right now. But you can't fly with people who are afraid of heights. You can't run with people who are comfortable walking. You can't dream big with people who think small. I've seen people with incredible potential get stuck because they didn't have the gurgerzo to change your circle because it's hard, it's painful, it's uncomfortable. It means letting of relationships that have accompanied you for years. It means choosing your future over your past. It means being willing to walk alone for a while until you find your loved ones. But it's necessary, absolutely necessary, because you can't get to where you want to go with the same people who are keeping you where you are. Break this habit with intentionality. You don't have to cut anyone out of your life dramatically, but you do have to be aware of how much time you spend with whom and how it affects you. Start actively seeking out the people who are where you want to be. Read books by people who have achieved what you want to achieve. Listen to podcasts by people who think differently. Attend events where people with similar ambitions come together, because the quality of your life is directly related to the quality of the people you surround yourself with. And if you want an extraordinary life, you need to surround yourself with extraordinary people. Not perfect people, people who are on the move. People who inspire you, who challenge you, who make you want to be better every day, because success is not a path alone, but you can't do it with just anyone. You need the right team. And sometimes finding the right team means leaving your comfortable team. The fifth habit that keeps you poor is not valuing your financial education. And when I say financial education, I don't mean having a college degree. I mean understanding how money works, how it grows, how it multiplies, how it's protected. Because you can make a lot of money and still be poor if you don't know what to do with it. I've met people who make incredible salaries, but they live paycheck to paycheck because they don't understand the difference between an asset and a liability. They don't understand what compound interest is. They don't understand how investments work. And so everything they earn, they spend, and everything they spend, they lose. And their whole life is a cycle of working more, to earn more, to spend more, to need more. But wealth is not built by earning more. It's built by keeping more, investing more, multiplying more. And that requires knowledge. It requires you to take the time to learn, not in a boring way, not in a complicated way, but in an intentional way. How many finance books have you read lately last year? How many courses have you taken on investing? How much time do you dedicate each week to understanding how to make your money work for you instead of you working for money? Because the system is designed to keep you ignorant. It is designed to keep you consuming instead of investing. It is designed to keep you in debt instead of accumulating. And if you do not break that design with knowledge, you will continue to be part of the statistic. You will continue to work 40 years to live 10. You will continue to sacrifice your present for an uncertain future. You will continue to be a slave to money instead of being the master of your destiny. Financial education is not optional if you want to be free. It is essential. It is the difference between working your entire life and retiring with dignity, or working your entire life and ending up dependent on others. It is the difference between leaving your children a legacy or leaving them in debt. It is the difference between living with anxiety every time a bill arrives, or live with a peace of mind of knowing that you have a financial cushion. Break this habit by committing to learning. You do not need to be an expert. You need to understand the basic principles, learn about budgeting, learn about saving, learn about investing, learn about good debt and bad debt, Learn about taxes. Learn about asset protection and apply what you learn, because knowledge without action is just information, and information without application changes nothing. Take at least 30 minutes a day, read a book, watch a video, listen to a podcast, talk to someone who knows more than you, but do something every day, because money is not the problem. Funny, ignorance about money is the problem. And ignorance is cured with education. So educate yourself. Invest in yourself. Because the best investment you can make is not in the stock market or in real estate. The best investment is in your own mind. Because no one can take away what you know. And what you know can generate income for the rest of your life. The sixth habit that keeps you poor is living on autopilot without reflecting on your decisions. And this is silent but deadly. You wake up at the same time. You do the same things. You make the same decisions. You follow the same routines, and you never, ever stop to ask yourself, why do I do what I do? Oh, why do I buy what I buy? Why do I work where I work? Why do I spend what I spend? You just do it because you've always done it. Because it's what everyone else does. Because it's normal. But normal is just another word for average, and average is another word for conformist. And conformist is another word for stagnant. You live your life as if it were a preset program, like a robot, executing instructions without questioning whether those instructions are taking you where you want to go. And the great danger of this is that the years go by. 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. And when you finally wake up and look back, you realize that you didn't live, you repeated. You didn't choose, you reacted. You didn't build, you didn't survive. Because life without reflection is not life. It's existence. And existing is not the same as living. To live is to be aware. It's to be intentional. It's to make decisions based on your values, not on fear or habit. It's to constantly ask yourself if what you're doing is either bringing you closer to or further away from who you want to be. And most people never ask themselves those questions, never stop to evaluate, never review their direction. And so they spend their lives working jobs they hate because it's safe, buying things they don't need because it's expected, living lives that don't fulfill them because they didn't have the courage to choose differently. But you don't have to be like most people. You can wake up, you can stop, you can reflect, Ashkia, and you can change. Ianj. Break this habit by creating moments of intentional reflection in your life. It doesn't have to be complicated. Dedicate 10 minutes at the end of your day to reflect what actions today moved you closer to your objectives and what actions moved you further away. It could be an hour a week where you evaluate your spending and ask yourself if every penny you spent was really worth it. It could be one day a month where you review your goals and adjust your strategy, but it has to be regular. It has to be consistent. Because reflection is not an event. It's a habit. And habits are built through repetition. Start questioning everything, not just a random question. Paranoid. In a funny way. Why do I work here? Does it make me happy, or does it just make me feel safe? Why do I spend my money like this? Does it really provide me with value? Why do I spend my time with these people? Do they elevate me, or do they keep me in the same place? Why do I do what I do? Is it my conscious mind, or is it the inertia of years of not thinking? And when you ask yourself those questions, be honest, brutally honest, because you can't change what you don't acknowledge. You can't improve what you don't measure. You can't grow if you don't know where you stand. Reflection is the first step towards transformation, and transformation is the only path to freedom. So wake up, get off autopilot, take control of your life. Because every day that you live without intention is a day that you waste, and wasted days become wasted years. And wasted years become a life that was never really yours. The seventh habit that keeps you poor, and this is the most devastating of all, is not believing that you deserve prosperity. It's that little voice in your head that tells you who do you think you are to dream about that. It's that thought that pops up every time You imagine a better life and whispers to yourself, this isn't for people like you. It's that deep belief, but buried deep in your subconscious us, that abundance is for others, but not for you. And this is a prison that you've built for yourself. Because if deep down you don't believe that you deserve prosperity, you're going to sabotage every opportunity that comes your way. You're going to find ways to waste what you earn. You're going to reject opportunities without knowing why. You're going to stay in situations that hurt you because it's what you know, what you feel you deserve. And the problem isn't your ability, it's not your intelligence, it's not your talent. The problem is your identity. It's how you see yourself. It's the story you've told yourself about who you are and what you can achieve. Maybe you grew up hearing, we can't afford it. Maybe you were told that dreaming is foolish. Maybe you watched your parents struggle their entire lives without succeeding and assumed that was your destiny too. Maybe you failed and decided that confirmed it, that it wasn't enough. And now, years later, you still carry those beliefs around as if they were absolute truths. But they're not. They're just stories. Stories that you can rewrite because you deserve prosperity. Not because you're perfect, not because you've never failed, but because you're human. And humans were created to create, to grow, to flourish. But you can't flourish if you stay in the shadows. You can't create if you don't believe in yourself. You can't grow if your identity is anchored in scarcity. You have to change the story. You have to start seeing yourself differently. Not as someone who survives, as someone who thrives, not as someone who struggles, as someone who conquers, not as someone who deserves crumbs, as someone who deserves abundance. And I know this sounds like positive thinking, but it's not. It's profound reprogramming. It's dismantling years of negative conditioning and building a new foundation. It's looking yourself in the mirror every single day and saying, I deserve prosperity. I am capable of creating wealth. I can change my reality. And at first, you won't believe it. At first, it's going to feel false. It's going to feel uncomfortable because you're going against years of programming. But if you keep doing it, if you keep repeating it, if you keep acting it as if it's true, eventually it becomes true. Because your actions follow your beliefs and your results follow your actions. Sarla. If you believe you're poor, you'll act poor and get poor results. If you believe you're prosperous, you'll act prosperous and get prosperous results. Break this habit by working on your mindset every single day. Read books that expand your vision. Listen to stories of people who started where you are and got to where you want to be. Surround yourself with evidence that it's possible. And most importantly, start celebrating every little victory. Because prosperity Allah isn't just the destination, it's the journey. It's every dollar you save with discipline, it's every. You pay off with determination, it's every investment. You make with courage, it's every no. You say to temptation, it's every yes you. You say to the opportunity, iniuri. All of that is prosperity in the making, and you have to acknowledge it, you have to honor it. You have to celebrate it, because what you celebrate grows, and what you ignore withers. So stop ignoring your potential. Stop minimizing your accomplishments. Stop believing that you are not enough because you always have been more. You just need to believe it. And when you believe it, when you truly believe it deep down inside, everything changes. Antiuran. Because the greatest poverty is not that of the pocketbook. It is that of the spirit. And the greatest wealth is not that of the bank account. It is that of the conviction that you deserve an extraordinary life and that you have everything you need to build it. Now, listen to me carefully, because this is important. I have told you about 7 habits that keep you poor known. 7 chains that bind you to scarcity. 7 ways of thinking and acting that prevent you from prospering. But I want you to understand something fundamental. Knowing about these habits does not change anything. Reading about them does not transform your life. Agreeing with what I tell you does not put money in your account. The only thing that changes your reality is the action. It's the conscious and repeated decision to break those patterns. And it's not going to be easy. I won't lie and say that simply wishing for it will fix everything. It doesn't work that way because you didn't develop these habits in a day. You built them up over years. You reinforced them thousands of times. You normalized them to the point where you didn't even recognize them as problems. So breaking them is going to take effort. It's going to require discomfort. It's going to require to things that are more. It's going to require you to face truths about yourself that you'd rather ignore. It's going to require you to change. Not just your actions, but your identity. But you can do it. Not because you're special, not because you have magical powers, but because you're human. We humans have this remarkable ability to adapt, to evolve, to transform ourselves. We can be one person today and a completely different person in a year. We can be broken today and thriving tomorrow. We can be lost today and directionless in a short time. It all depends on the choices we make, the habits that we choose to cultivate of the person we decide to become. So I am not to see this message as information. See it as a call, a wake-up call, a call to action, a call to break the chains that have kept you bound for far too long. Start today, not tomorrow, not Monday, not the first of the month, today. Choose one of these 7 habits, the one that resonates with you the most, the one that feels like your biggest obstacle, and commit to breaking it. Not perfectly, but consistently. Take one step, no matter how small, but take one step, because one step leads to another, and another leads to another. And before you know it, you've walked miles, you've transformed your life, you've broken out, and you're living the life you always knew was possible. Poverty is not your destiny. It's just your current reality. And realities can be changed. Destinies can be rewritten. Lives can be transformed, but it all. Saddam thing starts with a decision. The decision to no longer settle. The decision to reject mediocrity. Demand, expect, and believe in your capacity for more because you are capable of it. You always have been. You just had to wake up and realize it. And now that you know, now that you have seen the chains, now that you understand how they kept you bound, you have a responsibility. The responsibility to do something about it. To not keep the knowledge to yourself, but to transform it into action. To not be just one more who listened and forgot, but to be one of the few who listened and changed, who saw the truth and applied it, who recognized their limiting habits and had the courage to break them. Life is too short to live in poverty. Not just financial poverty, poverty of dreams, poverty of vision, poverty of faith in yourself. You were created for more. You were designed for abundance, not for scarcity, for freedom, not for present, for growth, not for stagnation. And then everything you need to achieve that abundance, that freedom, that growth is already inside you. Get you there with you. You just have to decide to use it. Decide to cultivate it. Decide to become the version of you that already knows how to live prosperously. Because that version exists. It's waiting for you. It's ready. It just needs you to make the decision today, now in this moment, that you're never going to live poor again. That you're never going to think poor again. That you're never going to act poor again, because you're not. Because you're not. You never were. You just forgotten who you really are. But now you remember. And when you remember who you are, everything changes. Your decisions change, your habits change, your reality changes. And the life you've always wanted finally becomes the life you live.